Good morning, everybody. It just happens to be morning here. It may not be morning when you watch this, but that's all right. This is the first, I don't know of how many it's going to take or what it's going to lead into, but this is the first video on a series that I'm going to be calling the dessert dishes. I just went through something that I'm going to be explaining to you in a minute about this process, and if you relate to it, then this is talking to you. I just went through another process that I've gone through so many times in my life that I always had such difficult understanding because it never seemed to make any sense. It just seemed like the way that I was made and created was just to be used to be thrown about on some kind of emotional roller coaster to no end, except for damage and hurt to myself and confusion about what the heck am I and why does this happen. Now, of course, since recently waking up, I have a lot more clarity, but I just received some significant clarity and a gift from my father. And I went through one of these processes that I will be describing, and then it turned out that I understood exactly why these processes happen. And now I'm so excited because now I can use this beautiful way the Father made me, gung-ho, let it rip, and just not even be concerned at all about the outcome because now I understand. And in that understanding, I shared it with a person, a specific person that was put in my path to share it with for his sake and also for the sake of me seeing that this is the next step in my mission, is to get this out to all of you dessert dishes out there. And once we get done with this video, you're going to understand what I mean if it's meant for you. Okay? I'm going to start by explaining a little bit what it's like, a day in the life of me. And this has been my whole life. I feel everything. Nothing comes in through me that doesn't go through my heart, that I do not feel it. I'm led by my feelings, drawn by my feelings, convicted by my feelings. I feel things in other people when I look at them. They don't even have to say anything. I just can sense immediately why they're feeling a certain way, what's going on in their heart. It's always been something that I've always had my whole life, and my heart drags me around, and I have no choice. I can try to deny it. And in some scenarios I did, even held on for years. But what ends up happening is I get usually very violently ill in my body, and I get so heartsick for not following my heart that it starts to affect my physical being to the point where my physical being breaks down and I have no choice but to deal with it, and then I end up following my heart in the first place. It's a very powerful thing, and I have little to no control over it. And I usually just end up chasing it because I have no choice, so I follow my heart. But what happens is I follow my heart to these ends that make no sense. A good case in point, relationships. I mean, it goes for lots of other things. I get excited is the word I use, or I get perked by lots of things. But in relationships, my heart will be struck by someone irrevocably, and I just have to pursue them. It's like all of me. So I pursue them, and I'm just giddy with excitement, overjoyed with love and romance and all the good things that come in a new relationship. And I pursue it with fervor, and I mean gung-ho everything. And I'm sure of it because this thing in me is so sure there's no way I could deny it, ever could. I pursue it, it begins to look like everything's fantastic and wonderful, and then somehow or another it always leads me to an end where I'm deceived and hurt and just beaten up. And I think to myself, Father, this way that you made me, I don't understand. Because I follow this very rope that drags me everywhere of the way that I'm threaded together, because I can see that I have no choice. So I've hid from it, that didn't work. I've run from it, that didn't work. I try to just indulge it and let it free to go, and this is what happens. I'm confused. I don't understand. I don't like being me because this just doesn't work. I'm tired of it. I don't want to feel anything anymore. If any of that resonates with you, if every time you walk into a room you feel something from someone, if things get a hold of your heart in such a way that you have no choice but to chase after them, and seemingly more times than not, they lead you to a place of despair and pain and anguish, and you're confused at why in the world am I made like this? This doesn't make any sense to me. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. You suffer from anxiety, depression, food addictions, maybe drug and alcohol and other forms, any form of addiction, to try to feed that ache that comes in here with this process that you keep going through that you don't understand. Well, I'm here to explain it to you and to call you out to come and join me and all the others who are specifically gifted in this way. I have questioned this my whole life and just recently went through a scenario, which I don't know when I'll share it, but I'll share it at some point. But this scenario basically solved this problem for me. And I'm going to explain the solution to that problem probably in another video. Right now, I want to read something to you that was given to me by the Father. It's a short story. I'm an author. It's not uncommon for me to write things. I work on novels and self-help books, revelations in my heart, children's literature. So writing is second kin to me. So when this came to me as an answer to my struggle, I just was like, Father, I don't understand. I don't understand. He gave me the story, and it did mean something incredible to me. It just sunk into my heart, and I felt so loved and so precious. But yet again, I kept running into this same wall, and I just ran into it again in something very profoundly big, having to do with this Global Witness family, the Hopi trip, this wave of new energy that came in on 11/11/11. It has to do with all of that. And so I was sure that this journey I was going on was going to come to pass, and it was going to go exactly how my heart chased it. It didn't. It crashed and burned again. And for about 45 minutes, which usually it could be weeks, sometimes it could be months, sometimes it's been years that I stay in this crashed state not knowing what's going on. But this time it was a whole 45 minutes before the Father led me through a process. And that's a process I'll explain to you later, but right now, I just want to read this to you, and I just want you to close your eyes if you need to, or just focus for a minute and listen. If this resonates with you, then this is for you. It is the Father telling you who you are and how he feels about you. And I'm going to read it now, and then I'm probably going to end the video with that, and we'll go from there. I'm going to make a place of connection, probably on Discord or by email or something to that effect. So depending on the responses to this video, I will cause some type of way that we can meet together and talk with each other and work with one another, because we are dessert dishes, and we are extremely important to the Father's plan. And no longer are we not going to understand what it is we do, what we do, and why we do it. And you're going to be free to operate in who you are with no concern for what the outcome is any longer. You just follow that crazy heart. And if this is you, you know who I'm talking about. So let me read this to you real quick, and it might glow on my face because I'm reading it off my tablet. So if I all of a sudden illuminesce like a scary movie, don't worry about it. It's just my tablet. Okay. I just wrote this little note. It's just a note from me. It says, God is amazing. It seems that every step of the way on this part of my journey, he is meeting me, blowing my mind as I do, blowing my mind as I do as he asks me. These letters he is writing through Brother Brian are like fresh, pure rain falling on a cracked desert lake bottom that has seen no moisture for far too long. God is our creator. We are the vessels he designed, each unique and for a specific purpose. So please ponder this. Now, the thing that I said about Brian, that's another thing I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, but Father's been sending me letters for years about me specifically. A great artist has made many vessels for his table. Mostly he has crafted plates for food, cups to hold drinks, pitchers for water, bottles for wine. They were all unique and designed for a specific purpose, but all created to serve him and his house. Each one of them formed by his watchful eye from the beginning in a certain way, with specific qualities to carry out precisely what he had in mind for them. These vessels were all content to fill their purpose, understanding what they were designed for and accepting it, walking out his purpose for them with an apparent ease. Something you may not ever understand. Ease has not been my path. The artist wanted all of his vessels to steer clear of the edge of the table, for if they ventured there, they risked falling and breaking on the hard and dangerous surface below. He guided them away from the edge and set each vessel up with the same guidelines as to how to stay close to him and avoid danger. They all kept watch with one another and supported each other in keeping to the guidelines of the artist to remain safe in his care. The artist desired something delightful after his meals. Dessert, he said. He then made vessels, special vessels for the purpose of holding these desserts. They were different. Because he wanted to enjoy his dessert and be very pleased with it, he made these vessels with special qualities. They were designed to hold a decadent sauce, a sweet concoction, wonderful and extremely and pleasing contents for the artist. Because they were designed this way, they found that they were wild at heart, very passionate, and had childlike belief, a playful ability to just follow their crazy hearts. This was how they were designed, and could hardly help but being this way. Not all vessels had this natural gift, for they were not supposed to. Now, these dessert vessels found it much more difficult to follow the guidelines and stay away from the edge of the table. They knew that they must follow the guidelines to please the great artist, but they had such intense desires that their hearts would long for things that were naturally a part of their design. They would constantly fall to the dangerous surface below and have to be rescued by the artist because they would follow their natural tendencies to fall. They sustained some cracks, chips, and damage from these falls. Each time they would struggle with this. They loved the artist with a childlike faith and an intense passion for him. So naturally, they want to please him, to be close to him always. So they would try to follow these guidelines and stay away from danger, but they struggled. Confused by the very nature that was designed in them and the desire to please the artist, yet continually following their special childlike design only to fall onto the surface below once again. Because of their love for the artist, this special passion and an innocent design they possessed, they decided to war against this design. For in their hearts they believed it was the design that was the problem. So they looked at other vessels, how they did follow the guidelines. The other vessels continually offered guidance to the dessert vessels as well. To them, the other implements on the table, it seemed that the dessert vessels were not submitting to the artist and his ways. Because they were not dessert dishes, they did not understand the wild, free, childlike ways of these special vessels. So these dessert vessels decided they would try to conform to the dinner vessels' request, to deny themselves the natural created tendencies, and did their best to behave as the other dinner vessels did. They did so love the artist and wanted to be obedient to his ways. They wanted to please him in in denying their purposely created passionate and innocent qualities. They found they lost some luster. They became saddened and not able to present the desired desserts in the way in which they were designed. They felt guilty for their design. Anxiety, depression, and confusion started to become more apparent in them than the passion originally that was created by the artist. Now that they were sad, anxious, and depressed, trying to be something that they were not designed for, it was even harder to keep from the edge of the table. As a matter of fact, many of them purposely ran right to the danger. Unknown to themselves, they did this secretly in an ill-fated attempt to feel like themselves again. For their hearts were powerful and their innocent belief very strong. So now they were confused, not fulfilling their purpose and mistreating themselves and their precious artist. It was no good. Filled with guilt and condemnation for feeling as if they were flawed vessels somehow, they stopped being useful for the artist's table. The dessert vessel knew this was all wrong but did not know how to fix it. One day the dessert vessel asked the artist, "What can I do? I'm miserable and I feel as if I've fallen from your grace." The artist simply said, "Press into me. Spend more time with me, and as you do, I will strengthen you and tell you the truth." So instead of trying to change, the dessert vessels did this. Every day, the vessels spent time praising and thanking the artist. One night, when especially perplexed, the dessert dish submitted her will to the artist and said, I cannot live with abundant joy and not be who you created me to be, the exact way that I am designed and naturally crafted by you. I cannot fulfill what I believe to be my role in this life with any fervor my calling demands, if in fact I do not follow my wild heart. And yet I do not want to sin against you, my beloved artist. And the artist answered, I have never asked you to be what you are not. I made you especially for myself. I made you childlike, filled with passion, and wild to serve me with those characteristics. Continue as I made you, only do not sin in your doings. Be passionate, wild, easy to believe. childlike in everything, just as I have made you. It is not wrong to live with these qualities. Only when you find that you're close to the edge of the table and risking a dangerous fall, call out to me. Confess to me the wrong place your wild heart has taken you before you get there. I will then meet you there. I will enter your heart, my heart, the heart I made, and I will steer you away from the edge of the table. Then you may go on just as you are, and it pleases me to see you do just so. It's that simple. Do not change what I have so carefully made you to be. Walk in it. Just submit to me, desire to do my bidding, call out to me if in trouble, and I will do the rest. The vessel danced for great joy to be the dish it had been made to be, and gladly presented the most delicious dessert that day that the artist had ever had, and continued on to do so in perfect freedom. And it says, today I am the beginning, and I'm cementing this in my heart. You have the ability to ravish the heart of the Father. You cause his heart to skip a beat when you come before him to pour out your abandoned worship at his feet. Nothing moves his heart more than you do. And that was just a little excerpt. I added it. It's not part of the story, but that's all right. Anyways, so now, hearing those words, if you were to hear the Father say that to you specifically, how's it affected you? You need to just let that be. And if it's affected you, you know who you are. There's no question. So you will contact me by, a comment or what have you, and I will go through the comments, and I will probably be putting together a chat in Discord or something to that effect. But I will just patiently wait and see what the Father does with this. You're amazing and special just the way you are, and there is an answer to this process that will solve everything for your questioning. And I do have that answer. It was given to me through great, great travail. It was not an easy process to go through, but I'm so glad I went through it because I came up with something that the Father gave me for all of us so that we can get this together. And it dawned on me, the video I just posted that was for the entire body that said that validation is coming. I realized after the fact when I started making this video that that dream was twofold, and that information was what I made in the video before, but there's an extra component for the dessert dishes in his table. It's for us. This is your validation, my dear. Your Father is validating who you are, and he is bringing that validation through what he gave me. And I'm sure other avenues too, because I do not hold the entire thing, but I do hold the patent in me on being a dessert dish. This much I know, and I have been given special gifts to help me to help you, and those are another thing that I will explain in another video. I love you. Get in touch with me if this is you, and I'll talk to you real soon.